So we'll recite the four immeasurables. Up there. So bring to mind some people that you know, that you care about, that's easy for you to wish good things for. And we'll write we'll recite the four immeasurables, which are the four immeasurable minds of love, compassion, joy, and equanimity. On page 34 of your prayer book, if you can't read the screen. And try to pause after each line just to, really send out this wish to those beings you've brought to mind. May all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. Next line. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. Next line. May all sentient beings be inseparable from the happiness that's free from suffering. And finally, may all sentient beings be inseparable. I'm not even reading it, sorry. For those of you who could not see anything, I wasn't doing my job. So I was listening to a thing on equanimity this morning. So what would you imagine the far enemy of equanimity would be? Discrimination. Yeah, bias. The opposite of what equanimity is biased. So what's the near enemy of equanimity? I'm sorry. Judgment? No, that's kind of a far enemy too. So the near enemy is something that kind of looks like equanimity, but isn't. Actually, indifference. When the reason why your mind's not disturbed is because they really are indifferent. So we need to remember that equanimity, is a kind of evenness of response to things, but it doesn't mean you don't care. You don't care that people are suffering, that you don't care that there's inequity in the world, that you don't care about these things. Equanimity means you want none of that to be true for anyone. So it's important not to think that you've mastered equanimity when what you've really done is dulled your senses to the needs of others. That you just, oh, well, whatever that bumper sticker says, stuff happens. So, we want to really think about that. So now we'll recite refuge. And I'll try to do my job and pay attention to what I'm doing. This is on page 98 of your book if you can't read the screen. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. How was your week? How's your mind? Anybody check in with their minds today? I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Calm and peaceful.
Calm and peaceful. Don't you ever get bored? Very good. Glad you don't get bored. I get bored. Um,
I don't get bored of being calm and peaceful. That's good.
yeah. So think something good. Sometimes it's fairly helpful to have little slogans to just kind of, like because if you're in a hurry or something in the morning, you might not be able to set some, really think about a good motivation for the day and make it elaborate and make it very specific to you and all that kind of stuff. But it still will help if you think, may I do no harm, may I be of help, those kinds of things, so that we're not, setting off our day, doing whatever it is we need to do with just the mind of me, of just, you're kind of got a to-do list in your head and you're just, okay, I got to do this first and that, and you forget that you're one amongst all these other beings, and that we need each other. And it matters to our day if people treat us kindly and are helpful and are, smile occasionally. So maybe I could do that too. So it's this, and you can do that every time you've shifted gears. Like say you go to lunch, you can do it on your way to lunch. And then when you come back to work, you can do the same, kind of remember, oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I need to do that, and that. But while I'm at it, let me try not to do any harm and may I be of help, because it's amazing how when we just set our mind in the right direction, we act more like we'd like to act. Because I would wager none of us actually want to walk out the door and do harm. I could be wrong, but that doesn't generally make any of us happy. There's a tension when we are energized by anger or dissatisfaction. Even doesn't have to be major like anger. It can just be a little bit, like when you walk out the door and like the elevator doesn't work and you kind of go, huh, and then you let your mind spiral. I went to the grocery the other day, got back, and the elevator wasn't working. I thought, why did I go to the grocery? I knew all this heavy stuff.
Did you get stuck in it?
No, I wanted to, I would have preferred being stuck in it and then at the bottom of it going, nothing's going to help me carry my groceries up. So, but if we have prepped our mind, primed our mind, towards others, then our first thought may not be about ourselves. We might think, oh, that poor woman who cannot get up and down without the elevator. She's going to be stuck up here until the elevator is repaired, because there's someone on my floor like that, and it wasn't repaired for like 2 or 3 days. So it's kind of like, it's just that reminder that there are these things that go wrong, even for us who have great conditions all the time. And so getting pushed around by that, by those kinds of events, letting our moods be determined by those kinds of events is a waste of time. It's like, if you really want to be miserable most of the time, keep doing that. So it's this correcting our motivation to where we just realize, try to remember, oh, I am one of many, and we depend on each other. We're very interdependent. So may I participate in this interdependence in a mindful way, in a thoughtful way, in a considerate way. It says, what happens when we react to something? Well, a minicom might be, say you get good news. So I rejoice in your good news. How can getting something good become not helpful?
I think perhaps it's just that it takes your mind off the equanimity. You get caught up in the fact or the thingness of what happened. It takes you away from being mindful.
We kind of get hooked by it.
Yeah.
Then we're kind of dragged by the line. So what we want to develop is this ability. I heard a phrase in this thing today I was listening to about where you can kiss the joy as it goes by. Instead of grabbing it. Please stay. Yeah. That's the difference. It's not enjoyment that's a problem. It's the fact that we really want it to stay. And that's not realistic. That's not how it is. So the more we can just notice, we want to be mindful of the good stuff, but we don't want to be, attached to it. We don't want to be hooked and carried along. Because then that next event that's not so satisfying, it feels so much worse by comparison. Because we kind of even think, we might actually even have a thought like, oh, why couldn't it just have stayed that way? That's when we know we're trapped. We want to try to know the moment we're inclined towards being trapped so that we don't let ourselves get hooked in either direction. So when there's some dissatisfying event, some unpleasantness arises, that we don't hook it either. We just, okay, handle it. And if we live our lives that way, moment to moment, then we notice when that's past. How temporary all this unpleasant feeling is. How temporary all this pleasant feeling is. It's all temporary. There's no need to make our judgment of the day, say, our assessment of how the day is going based on what's happening outside of us. We want to base it on what's happening inside of us. I don't know how to turn off notifications on my. Oh, I know what it's on my phone. My phone's silent, but no, it's sending them to me. They talk to each other more than I do.
Should be an icon on the top right, silence. on the computer.
Yeah,
I
well,
can help you if you want.
okay. So if we spend some time trying to expand our compassion for ourselves and others, this can help us lessen our reactivity. Does that sound like it goes together? Yeah, we know the common, you know. Everybody think that goes together? That if you increase your compassion, it makes you less reactive? They show this with science. So monks who have been practicing compassion meditation, for a long time, when they are put in a brain scan while they're doing their meditations and stuff, and then when they see things of horrible, horrid images of things, negative things that are happening, their compassion centers light up. What doesn't light up is that fight or flight part of the brain. Isn't that interesting? So their fear for themselves doesn't kick in. So they're able to stay with the compassion. This is why we say bodhisattvas don't get tired, because they have this mind all the time, but it is, so their fear for themselves isn't there. That's what wears us out. Oh, I can't handle this. It's too much, or not again. But so it's really about now. So what's interesting is this is about practicing, compassion, just the mind of compassion, meditating on compassion. This isn't actually doing anything. So you don't have to worry about, I can't handle it. This is just sitting quietly and thinking about sending compassion out and becoming more and more inclusive in the circle. You just keep your circle just keeps expanding, because guess what? Everything fits in your heart. There's no boundary to it. So there's nothing to be afraid of in terms of this mental exercise and expanding our circle of concern. So we want to notice when we're trying to do these practices, what comes up for us. What is it? Because that's something we want to work with. It's sort of like, because say you just think, oh, the world's too much of a mess. You want to go, okay, nobody's asking me to fix it. You have to have these conversations in your head. All I'm trying to do is develop the mind that wishes I could fix it, that wishes I could take everybody's pain and suffering away, that wishes I could do that. That practice is what reduces our fear. That's really important to recognize, is that we really don't have to do things that are ahead of our pace. We can go back in our daily life and do, what we are able to do and stretch ourselves a little bit and then go, oh, that was too far, and recalibrate our calendar and, and keep and do it like that. But that doesn't change the fact that we want to work on the mind that is biased, that only wants to help people we like, or who agree with us, or who, I don't know, wear the same team uniform. Whatever little, way in which we say us and them, So that's why I was talking about, that equanimity is the foundation of all these practices of developing universal compassion, developing universal love, this unbiased mind. So if that's the foundation, it can't be indifference. Indifference is not going to support the compassion and the love and the joy for others, So it's really important to check up when you're, I don't know, watching the news or whatever, and you realize that what you've done is just start to not listen because you just don't want to go there. If you've reached that point, maybe you want to turn it off and not practice the mind that's becoming indifferent to even hearing the news. So it's sometimes we feel threatened just by the very thought of opening our heart up, because we feel vulnerable, right? So I challenge you to think about, does it protect you? Is it really possible to armor your heart to where you're not vulnerable?
Not a good place to be.
What is? What is not a good
to
place to be?
armor, to think that you can armor the heart
Well,
without
it's-
feeling, and
Yeah,
nothing comes in, nothing goes out. So
yeah. It's untrue,
that's
first of all.
untrue.
There's no wisdom in that. To think that, oh, if I just close my heart off, then I'll be safe. We can become indifferent to the point of becoming a psychopath in the next life. If you want to practice that mind, feel free. It's just not a good look at the end of the road. So that's one of the things that you want to think about is, if I let my mind keep going in this direction and it gets to the extreme of what it could be, what would it be? So if I shield myself from, everybody who's other, eventually what's left? What?
Being alone.
So there's one in your group. Everybody else is other.
And it stops you from feeling compassion
And then it
and
just,
that's not a good feeling.
yeah, it's kind of like, what's that thing that we have a plague of in this country right now? It's lonely. So we really want to see if we've got too many things, if we've created mental obstacles to putting ourselves out there. Taking heart risk. And the wonderful thing about compassion meditation is you don't have to go anywhere. Nobody can hear your thinking. You're totally, it's totally private, personal experience. It's like the most risk-free thing you can try, because it's just in your head. You aren't making promises to anybody else. You're not overcommitting to anything else. You're just practicing. Oh, what would it look like? What does it feel like? Does it seem to make me a little more relaxed through the day? Am I more likely to be happy to see people rather than, oh my God, I can't believe they came to work kind of mind? You can just picture my mind in the past, can't you? So this idea of just sitting there thinking, okay, I would really love all those in my family to be free of suffering. and to be free of the causes of suffering. You know, those disturbing minds that make them suffer. We can see it. You know, we can see it. We can sometimes see it in ourselves, and we can certainly see it in people we care about, where we're kind of thinking, if they just let go of that, they wouldn't be suffering as much. You know, that's the cause of suffering. So we want them to be free of those, and then we want them to be happy, and we want them to have the causes of happiness. You know? So then you just expand it out. Okay, may all the people that they love be that way. And then you expand it out. May all the people that those people love expand it out. So you're starting out with your core my family, my friends, my one, but then you're including the people that they love, their families, their friends, you know, and it just keeps getting bigger. So what I like to imagine is inviting people over for dinner, and then you go answer the door, and they brought some friends, you know, and you want to make, okay, you know, well, welcome. You know, like, have you ever been to someone? Have you ever been that friend that was brought? You know, and you really hope that the person, the hostess reacts with, oh, wonderful, welcome. There's plenty to go around. So then now it's your turn to go, oh, welcome. Come on in, you know, but that how, you know, if our good friends bring some good friends, the odds are good, it'll all go fine. We just have to start thinking that everybody is that person. We just don't know them. You know? And just even considering that possibility, because we're not living in a place where you can't trust anybody. You know, we've got good conditions. We're not living in a war zone. So we want to make good use of these good conditions and allow our hearts to open and keep opening. Because the one really nice aspect of this, if you're all worried about, you know, self-protection, which all of us naturally are, this is what we do, you know, is that the less reactive we are, the better we are able to handle whatever, because wisdom can be present. When fear is there, wisdom's not there, you know. So it just, you know, it makes our days go easier to begin with. And then if something comes up, you know, it's like not as threatening to us. We don't even react with that part of our brain. So we can react more or respond more with that mind, those minds that we really wish we'd use all the time. That's thoughtful, considerate, patient, generous. You know, if it's, this does not mean that we can't learn from, you know, like we might learn, oh, this person's not reliable as far as lending money. You know, maybe that comes up. I've lent them money and I'm never going to see it again. So you can write that one off, and you might not lend them money ever again. That's okay. You don't have to hate them for it. You don't have to think that they're a terrible person. You can understand that, you know, they have, you know, this need that they don't know how to respond to. And, you know, and so this one time you gave into that, you know, you provided help with that, but you don't have to do it forever. But we have a tendency to then go, oh, well, now they become another. You know, fortunately, that's going to be the rare thing. And if we really look, we'll see that. We'll see that actually most people treat me fairly. You know, individuals just walking around, you know, most people, you know, Don't take advantage of me. And if you feel that most people do take advantage of you, you really want to look at that. You want to look at why your mind has come to that conclusion. And you want to look at, is there something I'm doing that makes me come to that conclusion? Is there something about my attitude of expectation that is fooling me into thinking, this or that? Does anybody ever leave their house, just briefly, and leave the door unlocked? Like take your garbage out. Da, 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 da. Why do we do that?
It's the opposite. I never like it.
Okay, fine. But that's not the point. Why do we think we can do that?
I don't think it was no break-in.
Chances are somebody's not gonna.
Chances are good. We should rejoice in that. It's not true everywhere. Then we should rejoice in that. All of us are here because none of us have been murdered. That's good news. In case you haven't noticed, we've got what, 8 billion now? Is that how many people we got? Between 7 and 8 billion?
Billions and billions.
Billions and billions. Yeah, that's not our biggest, risk. Our biggest risk is we're trashing the planet and none of us will survive. But each other are not, individually, not such a big problem. So we want to see how we close ourselves off. I watched this program one time years ago because I think Princess Diana was killed on the same day I was watching this program. I don't know. It's been a while. And it was a Black man talking about how the ways in which they notice people being afraid of them. And one of them was that, if they get on the elevator with you, that, white women will kind of hold their purses closer, or suddenly if someone's parked on the street, if they walk by, they'll lock the door. I thought I've done that. And that reality of knowing that someone noticed that I hurt, it's like, oh, I don't trust you. Bam. And I don't know you at all. I'm not in a scary place. I'm not in, and yet I still make that judgment. What a horrible thing to do to someone else. So we want to recognize when we're doing things, when we have little habits that are really closing people out. Because we're really interdependent. We need each other. And so we want our habits to not go in that direction. Because the more we close people out, what are we going to do when we need help? You're on your own, kid. You'll be the last person they remember to come and see if you're okay after the flood. Fortunately, somebody will still come see. Because not everybody's acting like you. So we have so much to rejoice in. There's just so much that actually goes right. That's not threatening. That's not a worry. That we have incredibly creative minds working on the world's problems. We can support them in that. So not being reactive does not mean not having a voice. It does not mean not participating. It does not mean being a passive observer to the world. It means that you love this world so much and you love all these people so much, you want to be of help in whatever form that you're able. What was Jimmy Carter's slogan that was been bandied about this week all over the place? Saved it to my phone.
Economic or gift to the future? No.
Photos. I can never recognize the photo icon.
There's a lot of quotes from him.
And can you see photos? I think it looks like a flower or something.
Yeah, it's colors as well.
Different colors, yeah.
Like a flower.
Thank you. My faith demands, this is not optional. My faith demands that I do whatever I can, wherever I am, whenever I can, for as long as I can, with whatever I have to try to make a difference. And he certainly appeared to live that way. But it isn't amazing. It's habit.
No, I mean, he was amazing.
No, but I mean, that's the point.
Right.
The point is, we can learn to do that. You know, it's doable. You know, and according to the Buddha and according to Christ, happiness is at the end of that road. You know, so we don't have to feel bad about not being that already. Because sometimes that's what we do. We go, yeah, not in this life, you know. We get too judgy about ourselves, and that stops us from actually doing anything to get a little closer to that ideal, you know. So it's just about encouraging. And this is what I think intentions are all about. Setting our intentions before we do things is all about encouraging us to make the best use of our time as we can. Because we set them. So we don't have to, worry about somebody else telling us, oh, but you have to do that. No, you get to set your own intentions, which is why we don't say it out loud. It's not a contest. It's not a competition. They're just suggestions of ways to have a happier life. And you're in charge of that. We each are in charge of that. Because happiness is an inner experience. It's not a getting experience. It's not it's not outside of ourselves. It's inside ourselves. So it's available to all of us if we understand what is its foundation. And its foundation isn't us and them. It's that interdependence. It's facing reality. The reality is we are interdependent. So it's like if you want friends, do we make allowances for our friends? Why? Why do we do that? Why else might we do it?
Want them to like me.
We want to be happy. We want to have friends. So, it's like there's no loser here. It's a win-win situation. It's like we cut each other slack because we're all in the same boat. We're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to get it wrong. We're all going to have those moments of incredible selfishness. We're all going to, we're not going to be perfect. And we're happier if we wish them to be happy. Does that make sense? None of this is rocket science. I really wish it was rocket, because I could explain why I'm not there yet. But it's not rocket science. But it is, we have to have habits, equally strong habits to our habits of being, self-preservationist. That's a word anyway, will do, you know. Because that's triggered by that part of the brain that's fight or flight. I might die. I have to protect this, you know. So that's going to arise, but we can make it be a lot less pronounced in our repertoire by not being so us and them, developing a mind of us.
So doesn't generosity involve an us and them?
No, it can. We can all make it about that. It's all us. So what are you giving up? I mean, one of the teachings is, you know, when you offer a mandala, I don't know if y'all are familiar with that, but in some of our rituals, there'll be a mandala offering where you're offering, you know, what do we say? Gosh, this is sad, and none doesn't know the words. I'm gonna have to look it up. This is just like so. Yep, embarrassing. Okay.
Offering prayers, is that it?
This ground anoint it with perfume, strewn with flowers. Okay. So nice fragrance, beautiful flowers. Adorned with Mount Meru. That's just a mountain with, you know, a celestial palace on top. All the things, the 4 continents of the sun and the moon. So everything, all the physical stuff. And we imagine it as a Buddha field and offer it. So we imagine it as perfect and offer it. Whether, you know, and we imagine everything that we've brought, you know, like when we make an altar or something, and also all that we can imagine. So they say, since this is a daily practice, and many of us have these commitments that say this every day or several times a day. And so when we're faced with having to give something away, you just think, well, I already have. It's not mine to begin with. So, you know, because what is the biggest obstacle to generosity? Yes.
Scarcity mindset.
I'm sorry.
Scarcity mindset.
Scarcity mindset. But why would that? What's going on with that?
No perishing?
How about attachment? Simple attachment. So the whole purpose of doing these mandala offerings is this idea of letting, you know, we don't need any of this stuff. The Buddhists don't need it, but we're going to give it to them anyway, just as a habit producing action. Because these are all mental habits. We want to be in the mental habit. And when you read the instructions on giving, on generosity, and it says, so who should you give to? And it lists like 14 different situations, right? And basically the last one says, anybody who asks. You know, and kind of slaps you in the face. It's like, yeah, I'm pretty generous until that last line. Anybody who asks. So,
I just wanted to share, I don't know if I have 100% right, but in Jewish teaching, it said that even if you suspect, well, I'll just say it, take it however you want, that even if you suspect that someone's like scamming you,
right.
if you're not sure, you should just be generous with them because it's better than denying somebody who's really in need.
In need, right. That's right. That's the same idea. Exactly the same idea. You know, because what is the fear of being scammed about?
You're gonna have less
You.
taken advantage of.
You don't have to go into any story at all. It's about you. Generosity is not about you. It's about other. So in that sense, it's us and them. Yep.
And you're saying that I also got that being generous makes you vulnerable.
Yes, if you have a scarcity mindset, it might make you vulnerable. It may brings that up in you. If you have a fear of being scammed, it might bring that up in you.
You're thinking about what you're gonna lose.
Yeah, it's all about you.
Somebody hurting you.
Yep. It just becomes about you. You know? we have to have self-care. We want wisdom in there, which is why it makes that caveat, that if you think you're being scammed or might be being scammed, but you do not know for sure. It doesn't say if you know you're being scammed, give anyway, because it's better to be generous than to be stingy. It says, no, you have to have wisdom. It's saying, but if you don't know and you don't give when they're really in need, you've erred on the side of self, not helping, you know?
Oh, so that's from the perspective of scamming. But how about a person who you think, in your perspective, are making the wrong choices?
Okay, so this again comes to the same thing. If you think so, but you're not sure,
No, you know for sure they're making wrong choices. For example, they're spending on things they don't need. They're using substances, but yet.
right? Yeah. So the Buddha even, yeah, you don't give for someone to be able to buy drugs, but that doesn't mean you don't give to panhandlers. You don't know what they're going to do with it. You don't know what their circumstances are. I know. That's why I say there's a difference. So this is that area of uncertainty. So if you know that this is not a reliable person with use of money because they use it for things that harm themselves, then you certainly don't want to give the money. You might want to give time, you might want to give support, you might want to give counseling, you might want to do all sorts of things, but you don't food. I know a lot of people who, when faced with panhandlers, is there another term for that these days? Something more or less, assumption?
Beggars.
Okay, beggars.
Beggars.
Yeah, so someone who's begging for something, if you don't know what their circumstances is, but you have this real fear of giving to someone who might drink it away, give them food. But then check your mind. Recognize that you think and so we want to check our arrogance that we think we know. Because, and then any instance where we are proven right, we keep storing that up, and that just increases that us and them. I remember when they had to make a decision, I think about food stamps, about how it's okay, like it's okay for people to use food stamps, to buy dessert. Because people will be in line going, oh, look what they're using our hard-earned tax dollars for. We want to watch these minds we have of where we're really stingy. We have no idea what these people's circumstances are. Food stamps are mostly given out to mothers with children. They're not even called that anymore. So, but it's, it's like, get over yourself. We need to be able to see when our judgment of others is saying something about thinking we're superior. That is an antithesis of equanimity. So it isn't that these things aren't challenging. They are challenging. We have good conditions. So we have the time to work with challenging concepts and thinking. We have the time. We're not just trying to survive. This is one of the good uses of our good conditions, is being able to go further with thinking about our actions of body, speech, and mind. Not to just, no, I thought about that years ago, so I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing, And no one's saying that if you drive past the panhandle next time and, don't do anything, that that I have the right to judge you for it. You know, it's not like that. We're trying to create the causes for happiness, and we're on the wrong track in general. We really think that taking care of self and everything we consider that belongs to the self, like our families, you know, is the way to have happiness. And it's not working for us. You know, you look at the world, you know, like what's changed? Still lots of wars, lots of greed. Yeah, there's some people who are wildly successful. And I even know people who think the fact that there are people who are wildly successful justifies capitalism. Because I could be that person. Yeah, it's like, yeah, good luck with that. So, I mean, it's just, we just have to really, really explore our beliefs and recognize, ooh, this is all about me, you know, I mean, and kind of chuckle, because most of the time it's going to be all about you. But it's just kind of funny how habituated we are to that. You know, we think we're different than the child in the sandbox, you know, we're just more socially adept to hiding that child in the sandbox, you know, and we want to get better at it because that's where happiness lies, is getting more open, more relaxed about our self-care and more concerned about others, you know. And then eventually, you know, we can be like His Holiness, who just sees everybody as a friend. So nobody's outside of his family. You know. And it seems kind of impossible until you meet people who act like that, you know, and you realize, oh, maybe it is possible, you know. And they never seem depressed. I look at all the Tibetan lamas and they, you know, they laugh a lot.
I heard a story about Lama Zopa, that
Mhm.
when there was a line of people giving him stuff, that when somebody would give him something, he would just give it to the
Yeah,
next
he does.
person.
That's what he did, you know. Oh, wonderful, it's beautiful. And he just, the next person who was, you know, because you get in line and you offer a kata and you make an offering, you know, yeah, even, yep. And it was hilarious. I remember one retreat that I was running, and Lama Zopa announced that he was going to give half the money to the center who was hosting it so they could pay their bills, and half to maybe none somewhere. I don't know. I can't remember now. And I actually had people come up to me going, I'd like my donation back because I wanted it to go just to get Lama Zopa Rinpoche. No, it's not unbelievable. It's how we think.
Yeah.
You know, oh no, I brought it for a specific purpose, and I'm not getting that. Doesn't matter that he's going, because it's now his, right? You've given it to him. Now he's going, and now I'm giving it. You know, I mean, how many people have felt that way about being regifted a gift they gave to someone years ago? I'm like, ugh, you know. But we gave it to them. They can do whatever they want with it. You know, and that's sort of, yeah,
I think that's the confusion. We give, but we think it's still ours.
yeah. There's a contract. Didn't you sign that contract? You can only use this if you use it for what I think is good for you. You can only use this, you know, if you love it. I remember one time giving my dad a present that, and I was just so thrilled that I had found it, and I had it, the whole thing in my mind, you know. He's gonna, you know, put it next to his bed and put the little candies that he uses, you know, whatever. I mean, I really had this whole thing out. And then I gave it to him, and I don't know, he said something about, you don't mind if I use it for this? And I went, yes, I do. I was young. I mean, I admit I was young, but it was just that I was so disappointed because, you know, I thought I had found the perfect thing for this perfect for this situation. And it, you know, he didn't see it the same way, and you know, that's life. But it's so hilarious how
Feel like the ego is attached, like it
the whole thing,
Like-
I was attached to the idea of I had found the perfect gift for him.
would feel disregarded in a way when they do that.
I think it's just that we are attached to our expectation
Mm.
because we really can't blame them. We gave it to them. They can do whatever. It's just like you said. We think there's a contract. Yes.
Also, I think when that happens, we're assuming that we know what's best for them.
Oh, always.
Yeah,
Yes.
so instead of saying we're doing this to the person and we would feel good if they do this with it, but we want them to.
Well, I mean, in mine, in that situation, I just wanted to be praised for having found just the right thing. You know, I was a terrible gift giver.
But you don't, someone once taught me this, they said a difference between purpose and motive. That the purpose is doing something from your heart and you know you're satisfied with it no matter what the result. Motive is when you want
Something back,
something, yeah, something, some form back.
that ulterior motive.
Mm.
You know, so,
And it sneaks up on us.
oh, yeah.
We may give, and then when you observe, so I have this experience, so I gave something and I want it still. I still think it's a great thing. I was like, I want it back, but I don't know how to ask it back.
And so you have to look at that,
Yeah.
you know? If you, you know, you can, I mean, it's all about humility, isn't it? You know, being able to go, I see that you don't feel about this object the same way I do, you know, and if you're not attached to it, I'd love to have it. And if you know, and what's wrong with that? There's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
I've heard that many people, like myself, like to give things to other people that they appreciate themselves.
Yeah, and sometimes we miss.
Yeah.
You know. But I mean, it's really interesting how, because it is just a matter, because you have to look at what is it that's stopping me from doing that? Well, I'm just too embarrassed to say that I still crave that thing that you don't, you know, and I thought it was so great, and you don't think it's so great, and I still want it. Fine. And you can choose, okay, I'm not going to act on that. I mean, there's no right or wrong answer here. It's just really about, there's nothing wrong with saying, you know, and there's nothing wrong with the person who receives a gift who says, oh, how kind of you to have thought about me and da 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 da. But you know, I don't need this. You have someone else that might need it. So you're raising your hand because, yes, that's me.
No,
No, I'm kidding.
How about when someone or you yourself gives a gift, like with an underlying expectation of receiving something?
That's what we're talking about. We think we've signed a contract. You know, I gave you a gift. Now you give me a gift and you hope it's a better gift, you know, but yeah, or at least equal to. Again, it's not giving. It's trading. You know, and they haven't been part of the deal. You know, so there's nothing wrong with bartering. But when you're giving a gift, that's not the same thing. We need to be honest. You know, we need to recognize these things in ourselves. We don't have to feel like some really evil, selfish thing. It's just, you know, we have to recognize, oh, look what I'm doing, you know, and try to change it. You know, it's a great opportunity to recognize, oh, that's what I'm thinking, you know, because this is the only way we change. Just like we've talked about many times, the only way we develop generosity is if there are people in need. So if you hate the people in need, they're the whole foundation of you developing this quality. You know, if you hate the people who try your patience, they are the foundation for you developing the quality of patience. They are your best friends for creating the causes of happiness. Your people you like to hang out with are not doing that for you. You know, doesn't mean there's something wrong with you hanging out with them. It just means that, you know, we don't want to put that, you know, this is my group and all these others are, you know, deal with them as I can. They're actually your source of wealth. Because we like ourselves better when we're patient, we're kind, and we're generous, and you know.
Shouldn't we try to learn from the gift giving experience?
I don't think so. I think we should just forget all about it.
No chocolate for you.
No. So I mean, this is, you know, it's just everything's an opportunity to learn. And the things that get in the way of that are things like contrast that don't exist, you know, but also self-loathing. You know, when we see ourselves doing something like we wouldn't want to admit in public, you know, that's just an opportunity to go, okay, now I know I really don't want to do that. That's not what I don't like myself doing that. So I will try not to do that in the future.
Interesting.
You know, so it's not, we don't want to turn our mistakes into obstacles. They're just mistakes. You can't get there from here if you know, if you don't recognize them and try to do something different. You know,
Opportunity for practice.
opportunity for practice, and we need to rejoice in it. If you start where I start, an opportunity for practice was something like, yeah, wonderful. You know, a real, you know, because usually as a nun, you know, so many of our opportunities for practice are things like set up 1,000 offerings to, you know, and you're like, yeah, really, it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon and we have to be at some place at 6. We don't have time to do this. I mean, you know, it's so ridiculous. So you have to recognize when you're creating an obstacle for this opportunity. You know, when you just, you know, it's like, oh, what is that? Could that be about you? Because Rinpoche would do that. You know, if you live in a nuns community, you know, Rinpoche would go, whole Chenrezig Institute, get all the nuns to make 1,000 offerings to da-da-da because so-and-so is ill, you know. And instead of going, yay, like some of the nuns did, you know. So I'm happy to say I've improved. Yeah.
Some of us are newer here. I'd like to know more about your background and, you know, you just share a little bit of how you came to this. Can you
Well, I've been a
elaborate?
nun for 22 years.
Like a Catholic nun,
No, a Buddhist
a
nun.
Buddhist nun. See, that's how small my mind is.
It's not small. It's you just still don't know. Don't know. Yes, I've been a Buddhist nun for 22 years. I met Buddhism about 4 years before that, but my second teaching on Buddhism, my first teaching was on compassion. I was just hooked. It's like, oh, no argument for me. So, and then the second teaching I had was from Venerable Rabina. She's like a hurricane. She'll be here in 2 weeks. Oh my goodness. It was just like, damn. But so she told the story about a friend of hers that went with her to see His Holiness the Dalai Lama speak. And her friend at the end of it said, you know, I'd really like to be more like him. And she said, well, then you have to study like he does. You need to do what he does. I'm going, huh, I can do that. I have the time. I don't have children. I'm not married. Da, 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 da. So I asked her how to become a nun. So I'd been a Buddhist for maybe 2 months. Karma just ripens. I can't explain it. I mean, it's just like wild. I walked into a Tibetan, the same Tibetan center where I met Venerable Rabina, you know, and it was like, okay, this is weird. I mean, I didn't have any pull towards, you know, some people are really pulled by the culture or by the time, you know, no. but I was really pulled by compassion. Yeah, it was just like, of course, we're all suffering. Of course, that's the only appropriate response. Oh. And I was so nowhere near that, I was not a very nice person. I'm a much better person now, and I'm still got lots to work to do. So, but that's why I'm still around, So, and Venerable being somewhat like a hurricane made me feel like, oh, I could be a nun. You don't have to be this nice, quiet, meek kind of, which I'm just not, So,
I have a question, Tendron.
yeah, yes. Hi, Sherry.
I don't know if I'm the only one that's curious, but I'd like to know a little bit about your life before becoming a nun. Like your lifetime. What was your other
It was
lifetime
like
like?
useless. It was pretty useless. I was divorced 3 times. And Rabina said, okay, I can understand twice. But really? You got married again? Yeah, I was not good at relationship. Yeah, let's write that one off. I was a web editor for an anti-racism website right before I became a nun, or while I was a nun. I did that for a while I was a nun. I was the statistician for the National AIDS Hotline, because that was in North Carolina. Before that, what did I do before that? I was a paralegal for a while. My dad didn't wait until I was 25 to tell me I was probably going to have to work for a living before I got married. So I didn't expect to have to work for a living. Yeah, not to be stupid. So, but I was not ambitious because he said my father told me the only reason to go to college is so you won't be boring to a husband. And you see why I got married 3 times and I was so bad at it? Yeah, okay. But, I had your typical, stupid life. Nothing, I was definitely into, things like anti-racism was really important to me. I grew up in New Orleans, but feminism was kind of important to me until I realized that I just really, that hating all men is not going to be, that's not feminism. That's, I mean, that's kind of us and them. And I can see exactly where that would head, so not a good look, but yeah, so it's just a very not but boy, when my karma ripened, it was just like I knew exactly what I needed to do, so it is true. I've never regretted it for a second.
You're lucky. Some people never find out.
Yeah,
Did
But
you
that's-
ever feel like you had a past life? Did you feel
Nope.
yourself?
I have absolutely zero energy connection. I had to work on that. Some people go to a place and they can just feel the energy. Yeah, not me, So no, I don't have anything. I clearly was not attracted to the culture or nothing like that. So when I was a kid, my whole thing was life should be fair. And now I understand karma. And when you really understand karma, you realize life is totally fair. It's just, but it's samsara. So it's just, it reflects our past actions, nobody else's. So anyway. All right, there's enough humility today and humiliation, maybe.
I just want to thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for being you and being available to us.
It's an opportunity of a lifetime. I really appreciate it. So, I mean, I'm the one who gets the most benefit here. Talking about the Dharma helps me so much. It's my favorite thing to do. I'm always happy to do it, except when I say, I mean, if you call me up and say, oh, can we meet, as soon as I hang up, I go, why did I say yes? Because I have that selfish habit. I really do. you know, but I also have a rule that I show up. I just show up, you know, because I have the mistaken idea of what the cause of happiness is goofing off. And I seem to, I just seem to believe that. So it's a total lie. It's not true. It's not true even in my own life, but that's, you know. So there you go. Now I'm sweating because I've embarrassed myself so much, which is okay. Embarrassment is a virtue for taking into consideration others. Okay. I'm looking up going, please let it be time.
Yeah,
Can be.
15 more minutes.
Yeah. Okay. So. Yep, please.
Something coming to my mind. Okay, so the panhandler on the corner,
Yep.
and I'm thinking that's his karma. That's what, I mean, so
And it's your karma to be passing by him. We're interdependent. I mean, as you know, you can kid yourself to think that, you know, we created the cause to live in a world with panhandlers. What does that say about us who are not panhandling at the moment?
it's giving us a chance to be compassionate.
Well, it's saying that we allow people to not have what they need. You know, we live in a world where there are people who have needs and we're not meeting them. That's part of all of our karma around the world, you know.
We're responsible.
Yeah, this is our, you know, it's a shared responsibility. It's not like we're in it alone. No, every being on this planet has the cause to live where there are beings that don't have what they need.
Okay, but let me just finish one thing, thought about that. So, don't we like purify our negative karma by living through the karma that we're at? Something like that, I'm trying to say. You know what I'm
You-
trying to say?
Yes, I do. We exhaust seeds. When negative stuff happens to us, we're exhausting a negative karmic seed. The way we purify actions that are similar is we have to apply the 4 opponent powers. We don't do that, then we're just exhausting negative seeds. And if we want to try to eliminate all our negative seeds, you don't do it that way because, you know, you don't exhaust them one at a time. And you'll never get there.
And what are the 4 that you're referring to?
You can study up. You know where you've got information on where to find that. Okay, because that's a whole nother topic. But yeah, so when a bad seed ripens, you know, because you created some, you know, you did some negative action, and so now you're receiving the effect of that. It's exhausting. That's the good news. Like when you're sick, you can always say, well, at least I'm getting rid of that seed. But if you want to purify it, you want to think, I regret whatever I did that would cause this effect. With things like health, it's usually that you hurt someone physically in a past life. You caused harm to their body. So you have poor health in this one, or occasionally poor health, you know. So so a panhandler might be exhausting a seed that says you're not going to have what you need because you were miserly in a previous life. You don't have resources because you didn't, you know, or you're lazy and you just procrastinate and you don't take care of what you need to do, or you're an addict and you know, and blah, blah, blah. I mean, it could be endless number of reasons that you're standing on that corner, you know, but you know, and that's why we need compassion, because they may not have the tools to actually purify this so it doesn't happen to them again. There are also very generous people that are panhandling, that share with their, you know, with the other people that they, you know, live under the bridge with. And I mean, we got to face reality here. They're not bad people because they don't have everything they need.
No, I was just thinking, I'm from Mexico City, and over there you get to see a lot of really young children. In my mind, they really are innocent. They were born into it. They really don't have the tools. coming from a place that has so much poverty to here, I feel like being in the streets. I'm very judgmental, I guess, because I've never needed to beg for money. But I think if you're in the street begging for money, it's because you want to.
Oh,
That's how I see it.
Yep.
And I've offered the food and I have been cursed at
yeah,
for not giving the money.
yeah, and you'll get cursed out for not giving enough money.
That too.
Yeah, yeah,
So
because-
I get to the point like I'm not giving anything.
yeah, because it's a contract to you.
I guess.
Yeah. Everybody loses. You're not happy, they're not happy. Yeah, oh well. We have many things in life like that.
So how do I go moving forward next time I see a?
Well,
person
if they start with compassion, just think to yourself, I would never want that job. I'm glad I'm not them. I have no idea how they ended up there. And I'm so happy. In this life, I haven't created that cause. You
I
know,
don't need to do anything.
you don't have to do anything. Start with compassion. Smile.
For me, what helps me is I think like they're a whole human being. You know, they've had a whole life up to that point.
Yeah, they were little babies at one time that you would have felt tremendous care for. You know, they're just people. You know, it's just, you know, and you make the hope that, you know, if you're ever that person on that street corner, somebody helps you. And the only way to do that is to create the cause. Why? Give it.
And just to follow up on that, my husband, he's a bus operator in public transportation. He pretty much works very closely to people who are in the streets.
You're right.
They can be very erratic, very unpredictable,
Yeah,
and it can be even dangerous sometimes.
really.
I've been telling him about compassion and he's saying that he's working on it. But so me, I'm just passing by.
Yeah.
How do you do it when you're working with them?
Same
and
way.
You can actually be affected by it. It's
We're
so
all
hard.
affected by it.
No, but what I mean is.
I understand what you
Mhm.
mean, but it's the same way. It may take him more time because he's faced with it all the time,
Mhm.
you know? And again, don't forget about wisdom. This doesn't mean you take risk with your lives, but all of us can be killed because our bodies are vulnerable, you know? So we can get in our car and get run over by another car. I mean, you know, there's nobody who can't get not hurt or something.
You're saying that he might have also created the karma to be put in that situation. where
Yes,
he's surrounded
absolutely.
by-
We don't experience anything we didn't create the cause for. None of us are innocent. You know, this is just cause and effect, cause and effect, cause and effect. There's also no reason to judge us because we may have great conditions in this life, maybe next life, not so much. We're a mixed bag of stuff, you know? And if we have a miserly mind in this life, we may not have resources in the next. No, I mean, it's not, you know, so the last thing we want to do is go around judging people. What we want to do is have compassion, and because we want to have that good mind, that mind at ease, no matter what comes up, so that we're creating the cause to have a good rebirth again until we become enlightened. Because we need resources to be able to do that. You know, and we don't need to beat ourselves up for not being perfect at it, but we need to catch ourselves going, oh, I know what I'm doing, you know, and try to not follow the story, because we'll start a story. Oh, I bet they never blah 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 blah. They like it. Yeah, really, you know, we want to just say, no, that's probably not true, and just end it, end the story, move on. And that takes practice too. You know, but we have to interrupt the conversation we're already having in our head and correct it. Recognize when we're just creating some story that suits us. Because often we're just rationalizing some behavior that we think maybe I should work with, you know, we're just justifying not doing anything. I do it. I mean, we all do it. This is it, you know. This is our work, is to notice what's going on in the mind, then going, is that how I want to be? And if it's not, then we want to try to do things to not continue that habit. You know, and this is what, you know, And that fear response of there's not enough to go around. There's, they might be dangerous, whatever it is, all the different ways in which we try to protect ourselves, we want to work on reducing that reactivity because in most cases, it's not true for us, And the way to do that is to cultivate compassion, to keep working on that. And every day, try to spend some time developing compassion because that will protect you. Because you won't have that mind that goes fight or flight, Yes.
Do you have to develop self-compassion before you can have compassion for others or at the same time?
At the very least, at the same time, because we're one of those beings. When we say all sentient beings, we count. We can raise our hand saying, yes, me too.
I'm just thinking of, they say that you can only love someone as much as you love
Yeah.
yourself.
And I've read something recently that by His Holiness that kind of, yes, I think it's true that unless we have self-compassion, true self-compassion means what we really recognize is our own suffering and feel compassion for it, want it to go away. We have to get in touch with the fact that we suffer. And then when we see someone else suffering, we know what that feels like, and we wish them to be free of it too. So in that sense, you have to work with self-compassion as well. You have to recognize your suffering as suffering. The fact that you're dissatisfied or disgruntled or feel greedy or I mean, it's nausea and nauseum. But, because we need to be able to see, as opposed to seeing a person, who we just don't approve of what they're doing and deciding they just want to be like that. We want to say, consider the possibility. I'm just using that, as maybe that's not true. Maybe they're suffering. Maybe they hate the fact that they are out here every day. And it's the only way they know of to get something to eat. Or get something to drink if they're an addict or whatever. I mean, it's just, and that's all the tools, because we have, doctors and lawyers and all sorts of professionals out there who work hard every day to make sure they can get that fixed tonight. So we're kidding ourselves if we think that, they're the only kind of people who were scamming us. Read some AA stories. They're fabulous. I remember the one lawyer said he ran, in a park every day, and he hid alcohol in trees. Yeah. Yep. And if you've ever looked at that, when my mother died and it's like unbelievable the quantities of alcohol that were in closets and under, it's like, really? That's what addiction's like. So it's now time. Okay. I really do love talking about the Dharma, but there's a point at which it's like, okay. So this has been fun. It's always fun. But it's hard work, isn't it? I mean, it's hard work to look at ourselves and to keep looking at ourselves and to keep going, okay, how can I tweak this to do this a little better? Am I getting it completely just wrong? Sideways, blah, blah, blah. It takes effort.
I'm surprised. I thought it was easy being perfect like you.
Oh, yeah. It is. It's true. It's true. It's just,
My mistake.
yes. Such a hardship to be around all these imperfect people. Yeah, right. Okay. Okay. So we want to rejoice in our efforts and trying to think things from a different perspective, from just kind of like, okay, maybe so, maybe not. Any exploration of how we can think more lovingly, act more lovingly, talk more lovingly, is really time well spent. Because, we all know how much better the world would be if we all were better at it, so. So what we want, those are all creating positive seeds in our mind stream that will ripen as positive experiences in the future. It's all cause and effect, so we don't want to be greedy with those effects. So we want to imagine giving them away. So that's the purpose of our dedication at the end, is reminding ourselves about others. You've already up there. Is that you up there? Okay. I will quit trying to find that. Can you enlarge it?
No, it's not me. I didn't click that. There's none.
Oh, it's Nana. Okay. Thank you. Okay. All right. So just, again, think of those people at the beginning that you thought about at the beginning, that you care about and all that stuff. And you kind of go, oh, I'm happy to share with you. And you just keep expanding it outward. And these verses help us do that. May all beings everywhere, plagued by sufferings of body and mind, obtain an ocean of happiness and joy by virtue of my merits. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled with a mind weighed down by depression. May the blind see forms and the deaf hear sounds. May those whose bodies are worn with toil be restored on finding repose. May the naked find clothing, the hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and delicious drinks. May the poor find wealth, those weak with sorrow find joy. Pause. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness, and prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvests. May all medicines be effective and wholesome prayers bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be freed from their ailment. Whatever diseases there are in the world, may they never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid and those bound be freed. May the powerless find power, and may people think of benefiting each other. For as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remain, until then, may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. And then His Holiness's long life prayer for His Holiness the Dalai Lama on page 244. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you were the source of all happiness and good. All powerful Chenrezig, Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. And then the prayer for the swift return of Lama Zopa Rinpoche. It's on page
234.
234 in the text. It's glued in somewhere in there. Peerless teacher and assembly of the children of the victorious ones, Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas, victorious Losam father and sons, along with the lineage masters, all the objects of refuge of infinite lands, please bestow the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now, holding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teachings through explanation and practice. On her patience that's never discouraged. Incomparable, venerable Guru, to you I make request. While striving single-pointedly for the sake of the victorious one's teachings, the sole gateway through which all benefit and happiness emerge, and for mother living beings, you suddenly departed in peace. What a great loss. Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of the blessings of the ocean of the three jewels and the great ways of bodhicitta of the children of the victorious ones, may the smile of reincarnation swiftly beam in glory for fortunate disciples. And Lama Zopa Rinpoche was really a good example of a bodhisattva because he did nothing but think of others and never thought of himself, ever. I mean, ever. Never asked for a drink of water. So we can get there. It's not magic, it's effort. So anyway, take good care. So 2 weeks, in 2 weeks, Venerable Robina will be here for the weekend. I can't say enough about how wonderful, I mean, you know, whatever, but I mean, I found her teachings very, very helpful. I think is it a sort of most of the day Saturday with a potluck lunch?
4 on Saturday.
Yes.
11 to 4 on Saturday with a break for lunch.
Okay, and then on Sunday, the normal Sunday morning to 12:30. Okay, so,
But you're
And
gonna
this
be here this
Thursday and this-
Wednesday and.
I'll be here this
this
Thursday and next Sunday
Sunday.
and not the
No,
following
And
one.
not the following Thursday.
And not the following Thursday, because I'm having surgery on Wednesday. So, so feel free to say prayers to me on. So I can always use all the help I can get. So, but really, I encourage you to come for Venerable Robina's teachings. So, bye out those of you at home. Good to see you. Take good care. Have a meaningful week.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Venerable. That was wonderful. Thanks a lot.
Maria.
Thank you.